It was a wild day yesterday with three big-time dirt late model racers being hit with penalties following tire infractions at Volusia. We'll get into all of it today, including the fines and suspensions, what both sides are saying, and what this means going forward. Let's go. It's Wednesday, March 13th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily. I guess we'll just get right into it. As per usual, major penalty news broke yesterday, right as I was uploading the Tuesday Daily. And I thought yesterday was a good show. Some information about Gas City. We talked about more Wicker Bill stuff, but all of it was pretty much overshadowed by the announcements from the World of Outlaws Late Model Series and DIRTRACKR Racing that three tire penalties were being levied for infractions at Volusia. I had a bunch of people reach out to me about doing an emergency live stream, but I wanted to give this a little time to breathe because I figured, that we would get at least some comment from the parties involved, and eventually we did, so I think it was a good thing to wait. Easily the most significant of the three was against the Outlaws. Of the three penalties was against the Outlaws defending champion and current points leader Bobby Pierce. Pierce finished third in the DIRTRACKR Nationals finale at Volusia behind Devin Moran and Chris Madden, but a tire sample taken from that night came back from the lab, as you always hear in these instances, not matching or conforming to benchmarks provided by Hoosier. Basically, this means the tire was chemically altered. For the infraction, Pierce has been fined a total of $8,400. That includes a $1,000 fine, a $400 tire analysis fee, and the loss of the $7,000 he won that night. On top of that, he's suspended for 30 days or the next four World of Outlaws races, whichever comes last, and he's lost 294 points in the standings. Points penalty and the missed races are really the teeth of this decision. Pierce dropped from the lead down to 23rd in the standings, and he's now 288 points behind Brandon Shepard out front. The points lost from four races on the sideline will make that gap even more significantly wider. This is not a situation where Pierce, if he were to continue racing with the series full-time, could climb out of this hole. Show-up points are 100 and dead last in a feature is 102, so Pierce will likely be somewhere around 700 points back by the time he could race again. That is just completely insurmountable. Along with Pierce, both Kyle Bronson and Devin Moran had tires fail lab testing as well, with their infractions happening during the DIRTRACKR sanctioned races at Volusia. Remember, during DIRTRACKR Nationals, the early races during the week are DIRTRACKR sanctioned, and the Outlaw nights begin later. Both of the samples for Moran and Bronson were from February 13th, when Devin Moran won and Kyle Bronson finished third. Both are suspended from DIRTRACKR sanctioned events for 30 days and each received the $1,000 fine and the $400 fee for the tire analysis. Bronson's total fine was smaller because he had $2,000 in prize money, while Moran has to give back $9,000 in prize money. So at least in terms of the monetary portion, Moran actually has the largest fine out of the three. As far as those suspensions, it is my understanding that because of the DIRTRACKR affiliation, Bronson and Moran would be out of Outlaw events as well for 30 days. But for all three, I don't believe that the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series will keep them from racing. I reached out to get a clarification there, but I've not heard back. In the infamous swimming pool rules bulletin from a few weeks ago, that specific situation would result in both series not allowing drivers to race, but even though it's tire related, I believe the series don't go along in these cases of tire tests. Bronson and Pierce were signed Outlaw full-timers, while Moran is a Lucas guy, so the effect will be different for all three. Bronson has not received an Outlaw points penalty, so he remains 8th, but the missed races will drop him down the standings if he were to remain full-time. Neither Moran or Bronson has shared anything publicly that I can find as of me writing today's show. We'll get to Pierce's comments here in a minute. As for what happens next, all three can appeal, which they have 7 days to submit a request for. Appeals are heard by a 3-person commission with everything on the process spelled out in the series rulebooks, which are available to view at dirtcar.com/rules. I will say here that appeals are very difficult to win in these instances. McFadden's team didn't win on appeal last year, but we have seen some penalties reduced in the past, so maybe that's a possibility here, but I don't think I would expect it. That appeals commission is made up of people kind of outside of World Racing Group. On the WRG side, CEO Brian Carter appeared in a Dirt Vision video explaining the situation, and he said they took 67 tire samples between the modifieds and late models during racing at Volusia to start the season. These 3 tests came back as the only non-conforming. He said the chemicals found in the tires that don't belong are not part of the manufacturing process at Hoosier and are not found at all on the Hoosier tire campus. He said they tested multiple samples from the same cutting, and all 3 came back the same. Carter called it a bad day for motorsports and said there are a lot of the competitors that expect them to do the right thing. As for Bobby Pierce specifically, both he and his mother have shared their thoughts publicly via lengthy social media posts, and I did talk to Bobby on the phone yesterday. A lot of what our conversation looked like is included in his Facebook post. He maintains his innocence in the situation, but understands he's up against it when it comes to the appeal process. He told me his tires were purchased from Hoosier Tire Midwest and that they did not get any tires while they were at the racetrack. When we spoke yesterday, he was in the process of seeing if they could track down the tire in question, as we are at this point nearly a month since that happened, so they're going to have to try to see if that's still in the shop or the hall or somewhere. Pierce told me he wasn't sure what the rest of their season would look like, but he did share in the Facebook post that the rest of their Outlaw schedule is TBD. He raised questions about the testing process itself and the lab that gets used by World Racing Group, but said that he is a proponent of tire testing to help keep the sport honest. His tires were checked at multiple points during those opening races this season at Volusia, and probably triple-digit checks happened on the 32 last season en route to his championship. I'm not going to share his Facebook post here as it is quite lengthy, but you can find it at facebook.com/BobbyPierce32. Even with all of the tire testing that's done, it's actually quite rare for anyone to be penalized for it. The last time the World of Outlaws late models issued a tire penalty was to Garrett Smith following DIRTRACKR Nationals in 2022. So it's been 2 years since the Outlaw late models issued a penalty like this. The World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series penalized James McFadden and the Roth Motorsports team, easy for me to say, last season. And obviously we talked about that a bunch. But before that, it was Jeff Halligan in Central Pennsylvania way back in 2020. I guess we'll see now in the future where these 3 dirt late model teams show up to next. Obviously still a ton of questions about what the rest of their seasons could look like. One other note from the World of Outlaws from yesterday, their upcoming race at Lawton Speedway on March 23rd has been moved to Kennedale Speedway Park. A recent fire at Lawton destroyed parts of the facility, including the press box and some seating. There's some smoke damage in the concession area. So Outlaw teams will hit Big O Speedway on Friday, March 22nd, then head to Kennedale on Saturday, the 23rd. If you want some other dirt racing content this week, Wing Nation has Donnie Schatz and Landon Crawley. QuickTime has Brian Paulus. Dirt Track Confessions has Ashley Stremme. Doing Which on Dirt has Ross Bales. Turn 2 Terribles has Kel Thomas and Chris Shuttlesworth. Across the Groove has Jim Allen from NARC. Racing Roundup has Dylan Cisney, the mayor. Ohio Dirt has Greg Wilson. Plum Wild has Ethan Tedder. And the Caution Free podcast has Brandon Goodman. There are also new episodes of The Dirt Reporters, The Dirt Nerds, Hoagie's Garage, and Dirt Tracks and Rib Racks. To see all of the shows and episodes, visit DIRTRACKR.com/podcast. That page is going to be become a lot more active here now as the season has started. A lot more shows. Some of the shows take the off season off, and now that we're kind of back racing again, they're going to be a lot more active. That's it for the Daily Show today. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.